10 seconds remaining.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to the South America Challenge.
5 seconds.
This is not going to be an elimination game. Swag, or if you prefer CNB, not exactly sure what we should be calling them, are going to be going up against Pain Gaming in a best of 3 to determine who is going to be going to the grand finals and who is going to be dropping down to the losers bracket. Here on HeflaTV HB1, we're going to be bringing you these games. I'm Mikelorus, got GrandisV also on the line. How are you doing today?
Oh, doing just fine, and well, yet again, we're going to see Axe left through the pool, and he's not even first pick. Very interesting, and then followed up by the Dazzles. The draft is already pretty quickly underway by both of these teams. Pretty interesting to see them let both the Axe and Batrider through, prioritizing very heavily the Earthshaker and Venge bans.
We've also been seeing a lot more teams deciding to ban out the Sniper rather than let him get through. He's been steadily climbing. Like, Sniper was not too long ago in the 3rd or 4th pick slot, then he just slowly creeps on to the left of the screen until he's eventually in that first ban slot. Although I do think that might be just a little bit of byproduct of the region that we're playing in. Either way, Sniper is going to be banned out along with that Shaker. So, Swag or CNB, first of all, let's decide what we're going to call them right now. Let's just call them Swag, alright? They're going to grab the Axe Dazzle, so they already have some opportunities for shenanigans, let's say.
Yeah, definitely. The potential for creep cutting is there, and just the potential to go very aggressive early on is also at their disposal. But then again, they could also take this pretty passively, have the Axe farm up in the woods, and Dazzle could just sit behind their safe lane farm. There's a lot of different ways that they could shuffle around these heroes, and they're all pretty good. Pain Gaming going to pick up the Lion. They're no slouches either when it comes to initiation. With the Blink Lasso and eventually a Blink Hex coming out from the Lion, they have a lot of ways to start fights, and a decent amount of follow-up damage too. I think both teams have a decent opener to this draft that really doesn't lock them into any specific way of playing the game.
They actually have very similar drafts. Like, they have their Initiator, offlane hero, Axe and Batrider, mirrors there. Dazzle definitely more defensive than the Lion, but Axe a lot more offensive than the Batrider, so overall, like, the kill potential and the utility of these two heroes on either side is fairly even, so it's at that point, if the draft continues as is, which of course it's not going to, but if it is going to remain at least a little bit similar, then it's going to come down to Blink Dagger timings and of course positioning to determine who's going to get an edge in this game. Unless there's some shenanigans going on with the Axe Dazzle, in which case, you know, that's all out the window, and then the game is just a giant chaotic mess. But maybe that's going to happen, maybe it's not. Pain Gaming with the Lion pickup are already kind of prepared to deal with it.
Yeah, I think so too. A hero that I would love to see from Swag if they want to go for some more cheesy play with the Axe and Dazzle might be a Shadow Demon. It's pretty good defensively against the Batrider, and the heal bombs early on are ridiculous. Although, I'm not sure if that's going to be an option. A lot of hate towards mid laners in the second banning stage with Queen of Pain, Tinker, Storm Spirit, and Shadow Fiend hitting the bin. Slark is going to be the pickup for Swag.
You don't usually see Tinker nowadays. We did see a Tinker recently in the South America Challenge, and if I remember correctly, it got absolutely raffle stomped, so not setting a great precedent for Tinker in the tournament there. But Swag just going to take out all the mid lane pressure that they can possibly get rid of, and then probably, or possibly, will decide to send the Slark over into the mid lane. My god, these tongue twisters are real, but with all these really powerful, really potent mid heroes out of the pool now, the Slark is going to have a much easier time, and it's an option for Swag. It's not going to be something that is set in stone for right now, but if they want to do that, they could probably get away with the Slark mid.
Yeah, they definitely could. I think it's going to be a little bit longer into the draft until we see if they'll actually be doing that. For now, I think it's pretty safe to assume that this is going safe lane for them. But it's still a decent pick in its own right, even though Pain Gaming do have a lot of lockdown in theory to keep the Slark down and burst damage too. It's still a really hard hero to kill, especially when you have Dazzle support behind it.
Well, they can still pick up an Ancient Apparition that would make their life versus Slark a lot easier, Pain. They are going to decide to grab the Juggernaut first, though, going to get some damage on the board. Another effective ban towards the Swag side, as Juggernaut would have been pretty reasonable with the heroes that Swag had, and they're going to decide to grab a Disruptor.
Yeah, a pretty decent hero against the Batrider, and having an Instant Silence against the Juggernaut also pretty nice utility. All around, Disruptor's hardly ever a bad hero to have on your side, but it is going to be pretty unfortunate for Swag as their aggressive potential with roams between the Dazzle and Disruptor is pretty limited. Although they can offer something to ganks, they're not the best.
Yeah, their job is most likely just going to be go to the top lane with maybe the Slark, maybe their last pick, and then just try to shut down the Batrider as much as possible. Glimpse is very powerful, and if you glimpse into a Pounce, that may very well be a kill, but they really lack the guaranteed disables in order to make those kills very quick and easy. It's not too uncommon where we see lanes like Slark, Disruptor, Earthshaker, in which case the Batrider is going to have an absolutely abysmal time. This time the Batrider is going to have a bad to mediocre time, and that's actually a lot better than what he usually has to deal with. But it is still possible that Pain want to shuffle things up a little bit, given what they see on Swag's side. The mid lane is still open to the Batrider. It is not too common nowadays, but it's still a possibility.
Yeah, I think they'll probably shy away from it, but they are going to pick up that Ancient Apparition you were talking about earlier. A really nice hero to have against Slark and Dazzle both. Although Shallow Grave sometimes can save you from the Ice Blast effect, shutting down the heals from the Dazzle, and more importantly, the ultimate from the Slark is incredibly important to have, and really just a nuisance for Swag. They have a lot of global ganking potential between the Batrider and the Ancient Apparition. They can set up kills pretty much anywhere on the map.
5 seconds
Yeah,
remaining.
it's a dangerous lineup from Pain right now. Just having Batrider wander around by himself once he grabs a Blink Dagger, and if he's smoked up or something like that, with Ancient Apparition on the team, they could assassinate people from a very long ways away, especially if they decide to grab a Zeus as their last pick, which I think is actually pretty reasonable for Pain. It would give them a lot of global artillery and so much pick-off potential, and it's a great tool versus Slark, so I'm liking the Zeus there for Pain, but I gotta say, I like Pain's draft just a little bit more. That Ancient Apparition semi-hard counter versus the Dazzle and Slark is gonna be really hard for Swag to deal with.
I'm actually pretty surprised that they ban out the Invoker themselves in that last ban slot. I was half expecting that to be a pickup that Pain were considering, so maybe they are going to go for that Zeus after all. For Swag, we still have yet to see what's going to be inside their mid lane and what's going to round out their lineup. The mid lane pool is actually pretty limited. Most of the top tier heroes are banned out or really not looking all that attractive.
Well, they could always just fall back onto the good old Viper or something like that, and that's probably going to be a very safe way to go. It always is the very safe way to go, but not knowing what Pain are going to send towards the mid lane, you don't really want to grab a hero who's very easily countered, and it's damn near impossible to effectively counter a Viper in a 1-versus-1 scenario. So for Swag, that's probably their best bet. I mean, they had so many bans to target those mid laners, and it's actually going to be them to grab the Zeus. Maybe another effective ban towards the Pain Gaming side, but also Zeus is a reasonable mid lane hero most of the time. He does have some, mediocre to bad matchups, but he can get through that with just Arc Lightning spam.
Yeah, there is potential for Pain Gaming to roam onto the Zeus pretty easily, even if it's just the line. In the duration of one stun, most mid laners can kill off that Zeus, so maybe something that Swag need to be careful of at the very least, but I think it is just a fairly reasonable pick, although not as safe as the Viper. Can snowball a little bit harder. Once you get the nukes up to max level, the Ancient Apparition line in particular are going to be falling very quickly, and even the Juggernaut to a lesser extent in the early portion of the game doesn't have that much base HP.
Yeah, the Zeus is just the type of hero that can just go off in a game, and when you also have a Slark and Axe who can go off just as hard, if not harder, then Swag have a lot of potential just to snowball out of control and essentially win the game in the first 15 minutes. Or have the game on lockdown so that they could win the game later on in the first 15 minutes. Pain do have some pretty decent late game, especially with their last pick being that Razor. Their damage output isn't too terrible either, but it's not going to be as snowbally as the Swag side. Though mid lane, Razor versus Zeus, Lightning versus Lightning there, and, well, Zeus is, not surprisingly, not going to have a fantastic game in the mid lane.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really expected him to. There's not much that you can do against a Razor as a Zeus, but then again, Razor's not going to entirely shut down your CS either, so unless there's any support rotations, I expect the Zeus will still be able to get his levels and a little baseline of farm. We'll just have to see how these lanes shake down as we introduce our teams. On the dire side of the map, we're going to have Swag, formerly known as CNB, with Klotz playing on the Slark, Alameo going to be playing on the Dazzle, Suits on the Zeus, VSW on the Disruptor, and last but not least, Ned on the Axe.
And for the Pain side, Tavo is going to be playing the Batrider. HFN is going to be playing the Razor, most likely mid. ADR is on the Juggernaut with King RD on the support. Lion joined by Baga as the Ancient Apparition support as well. The Razor going towards the mid lane, it's very similar to that Viper that I suggested earlier. I actually think this is pretty good because, well, for Swag, we mentioned before how they don't really have the most aggressive of supports, this Razor is more or less going to be unmovable in the lane for Swag. They have to commit so many heroes to killing this Razor if they actually want a chance, and even then, it's hard. Razor is, or gets to be rather tanky, and Dazzle and Disruptor can't really do much about it.
No, definitely not. And I think that HFN does have potential to really do a lot of work inside this game. Even though Axe, Slark, and Zeus want to be played pretty aggressively, if Slark gets all of his damage drained out of him, or Axe goes in for a blink call that Razor's not inside, and Razor steals a bunch of damage, Pain could very easily turn that around. So, yeah, I think all things considered, Pain's lineup is a little bit more stable, and I think, in my opinion, a little bit better. But Swag also not without the potential to take out this victory, if they get off to a good start, especially.
Yeah, you can never count out a team's early game potential with an Axe. Like, it could just be absolutely ridiculous. It could be very tame at sometimes, but when you have an Axe, you could just go off completely off the rails, and the other team can't really do that much about it. A fast Blink Dagger can pretty much instantly win you the game, if you get it fast enough, of course, but the Razor is going to be problematic for the Swag side to deal with, and hell, even the Juggernaut, until that Axe does get a couple more levels, is going to be very difficult to bring down. Outside of some shenanigans, very early game aggression, like level 1 aggression from Swag, I don't really see them getting that much done, and you don't really want to rumble against Pain at level 1. Ancient Apparition is going to guarantee Pain's victories 9 times out of 10, not to mention the spin from Juggernaut doing the same.
Yeah, definitely so. And I would like to see Pain go for an early aggressive move to maybe secure the first blood with just the power of one disable from the line with the Chilling Touch. I think that's enough to get a kill on any of Swag's heroes, I want to say.
Probably, I think only the Slark might not be an instant kill because he might be able to pounce out of range. But if you get boots on any one of their heroes that are involved in that, then most likely that's going to be a kill. So probably level 1 smoke for Pain, maybe head up towards top lane and try to catch a Slark or something like that.
Yeah, sounds like a decent play. Hopefully Pain will be able to get all of their players back in. I honestly have no idea what the issue is. Hopefully a quick reconnect will solve it.
Well, just going to pull up the chat so that everyone can know what the issue is, but we of course do not. And I don't really think a translation is going to happen, mostly because it's not going to solve anything. So we're just going to sit in, of course, the most exciting place to sit, the beginning of the game. No items purchased, no nothing, except for just a couple of heroes. And racking my brain right now trying to think of more synergies or more edges that these heroes can bring out, but not really coming up with that much, man.
No, these heroes are pretty straightforward. There's no super clowny synergies coming out from them. I mean, an initiation with Axe followed up by the Disruptor Static Storm Kinetic Field can be really deadly, but that does rely on a Blink Dagger up for the Axe and is kind of self-explanatory. So, yeah, nothing too crazy.
Yeah, the Bat Rider is going to be very similar. Of course, it's guaranteed to be a smaller scale initiation for the Pain side. They don't really have the best burst to just instantly give someone once they grab him with the lasso, unless they want to commit Omni Slash, which you probably don't want to do. But they have enough slightly slower damage that most of the time they will be able to get those kills. And Swag, I mean, they're not really so hard on the CC. They got the silence from the Disruptor. They have Glimpse as a pseudo crowd control effect, and they have the call from Axe as well. But that's about it. Pain will be able to move around these fights pretty effectively.
Okay, so something that I'm actually pretty curious about is that Juggernaut's sword, it has an inscribed gem that keeps track of the Blade Dance crits. He only has 18. Even if he's only playing one game, how do you manage to only get 18 crits on a Jug?
You don't level it, man. Blade Dance sucks. Everyone knows Blade Dance is Juggernaut's worst skill. Well, if I keep talking like that, people might think I'm serious. But actually looking at Blade Dance, like, it doesn't actually look that impressive. Like, the crit damage is flat and you only get 5% every level. That's like, it doesn't sound good.
The value point is so real though. Like 20% chance for 200% crit is ridiculous.
Yeah, but like only 5% a level. You can't do any better than that, Valve. And I feel like a Healing Ward, it also looks really bad, but then you realize that 2 to 5% is a hell of a lot of healing.
Yeah.
It's a lot more consistent.
I mean, to be fair, Blade Dance might be his worst skill. Blade Fury, I don't know.
Blade
Depends
Fury
on when you are in the game.
Spin and then win. and then there are no more steps. That's all you need.
Spin to win.
Exactly. Every single game has their spin to win skill. I don't know why that is. It just seems like you just gotta spin. And I want to say that, did Warcraft do it first? I mean, I'm probably sure that like some Dungeons and Dragons did it first or whatever. But as far as games are concerned, Blizzard's games, Warcraft 3, did that come before Diablo 2? I don't actually know.
I have no idea. I was very...
This is important, man. This
Yeah.
is important.
I wasn't into gaming when those games came out because I was, I don't know, like 5. So,
Diablo
I don't
2
know.
came out in 2000. And Warcraft 3
Yes.
came out in... I don't know when. Pull it up. That's in 2002. So Diablo did it first. Barbarian did it first, guys. Just in case anyone's curious. But
It's
everyone's gotta
important.
have a spin.
Well, that's classy.
Please keep it PG. No, he's drawing a
Please.
mouse.
Yeah, it's obviously a mouse.
Yeah, see? The right click and the left click. And then
And-
a mouse pad.
Yeah, that's how we're going to explain
That's
those.
definitely what it is.
Of course.
It could actually not be anything else. So what are your thoughts on this lion cosmetic thing with his like hood? Because I think it's like the ugliest thing in all of Dota ever.
Okay, so the story behind this cosmetic is that this was for an old model of lion. It was like one of the earlier cosmetics, and they just never updated it.
But the old one wasn't that different from the new one, was it? It was a little bit
No,
more
it
like
wasn't.
grr, but unless he's actually having a lion head, like of an actual cat lion, then I see no scenario where this cosmetic is going to look good.
Who knows? Who knows?
What's holding it up there? Is it just like a piece of plastic that's like propping it up?
Wires?
So that means he has like wires sticking into his body or something to like hold that up?
No, I don't think so. It's just propped up. It has like a little wire frame inside of it.
It just is.
It just is.
We don't question these things anymore. We just accept them as fact.
I think the biggest issue is that his ears are clipping through it.
Oh man, what a faux pas. Yeah, they are a little bit. Or maybe
Maybe it has little wedges cut into it. So
Yeah,
his ears
that's what I was gonna say. He knew
Yeah.
that his ears were gonna clip into it, so he cut some holes in it beforehand. Obviously.
This lion guy's a thinker.
Yeah, he came prepared, guys. Look at everyone else. I don't know how do you get 18 crits on Juggernaut? Oh god, we're going in. Okay. So we have a game, and hopefully that's going to be the only pause of this series. And, well, taking a quick item check. Smoke not there. Boots only on the Batrider for pain, so they're not going to play this super aggressively. It looks like they just might secure their bottom lane, make sure that there's no Observer Ward shenanigans going on there. They're more than happy to get into a fight if they run into the enemy, but they won't.
Yeah, looks like this isn't going to happen. Maybe, just maybe, they catch out Axe if Ned gets too comfortable. Let's see how deep he wants to place out his ward. With no boots, this is pretty risky to do on the offlaner.
Well, ADR is in a very sneaky position. Observer Ward placed from beyond the trees. I actually did not know that that would reach. It seems to be right on the edge of the range. Axe is going to fall back. I don't think he actually saw anyone, but you don't really want to go around that corner. It's definitely a big commitment, and it might cost him his life.
Yeah. GG called out? It might just all be over.
Or Tavo's mouse is broken? Right?
I
Tavo's
guess
house is on
as good as
fire?
mine. Also, decent guess. I don't know. Something's wrong with Tavo.
Guys, Tavo, if anyone knows Tavo, send help. Don't, actually. Okay, they're definitely
Easy
just
win?
smack-talking each other. Both these
Okay,
teams are
okay,
from
there
the
you
same
go.
country, so I assume that these guys play and scrim probably quite a bit. So I want to believe that this is just a friendly game of Dota, but who knows?
Who knows? I assume this is just Portuguese smack talk.
Yeah. And that's fine, because the viewers that understand this language can appreciate it, and we will just look back towards the cosmetics. Oh man, if anyone in the chat knows what's going on, then and can translate for us and everyone else in the chat, then that would be great. If you could do that, then please go ahead and do that.
That would be wonderful. Let's see. The problem
Okay,
with
so
this
his
game
mouse
right now...
broke and he has to something his PC to fix it. Have you tried
We're
turning it off and
detectives
back
here
on?
at HeflaTV.
Yeah, we're gonna end up learning this language, learning how to read it, and then everything else we're just like, nope, we don't know what that is.
And the cosmetic game inside this match is pretty weak indeed.
Dude, the Bat Riders is legit.
Yes, yes. I think...
Yeah, Bat's got like huge claws and shit and a mohawk. Unfortunately, the Bat Rider himself does not also have a mohawk, which would, of course, hurt the aerodynamics of the vessel.
Wouldn't it, like, increase it, though? Like, look at his hair right now. It's all poofed, like, straight up. If you, like, just made it, like... I don't know, just make it like an aerodynamic bump. Mohawk. Faux hawk thing.
An aerodynamic bump thing.
Yeah.
Dude, we're detectives and we're freaking scientists.
And
I don't know.
hairstylists.
I have no idea. I don't know enough about flight aerodynamics, especially on winged mammals, to really contribute much to this discussion. Unfortunately.
Yeah. It's quite a bummer. Let's see.
If only I had this very specific pocket of knowledge, I could be so much more useful in this stream.
You could. And you could also, like, make a shop and everything. You could become an entrepreneur. The first of your kind.
First entrepreneur ever?
No. The first, I don't know, mammalian bat riding hairstylist.
Yes. That might be a very niche market, but I'll do it. The mouse stopped. Need to restart the PC. Great. We were close. We were close, man. Thank you, Renato Perdue, for translating for us. But we were already right. We didn't even need you, man. You were late.
Well.
Yeah, this is fun. So many restarts, but it wouldn't really be South American Dota or Dota at all if we weren't just bombarded with the grayscale screen.
It's the way the majority of games start.
Yeah. And, well, we have a reason this time. It's much better than other times when it's just sec, which lasts, of course, for like 10 minutes, because that's the definition of a sec.
Yep.
Just admiring Slark's stuff now.
It's not much to admire, really.
I mean, look at that sword thing. Like, did he put a fish there? Is that even a fish skeleton? So many answers. I don't know the answer to it. It might be a blade that stuck into a fish and then got stuck.
The double stuck blade.
Hey, you never know, man. Those reef fish are very, very hard to kill, and then your blade is just stuck there forever. There was a time, I'm sure, when the fish meat was like stuck on his sword and everything. You just couldn't use it effectively. Oh.
Hey!
Are you sure you guys don't want to pause again? Anyone else need to restart? Is there lag? Are there TeamSpeak issues? No? Okay, well, we're actually going to get into this game, and Axe, he hasn't placed his Observer Ward just yet. He's going to maybe think about going for this Bounty Rune, but it's probably not a good idea up against a Juggernaut. They're actually, Pain might leave this Juggernaut by himself for a little bit in this game.
Yeah, that would be pretty reasonable for Pain to do. Up against the Axe, it's not the greatest lane for the Juggernaut, but it's also not the worst. I don't think the Axe is going to stop the Jug from farming up towards top. With the Pounce connecting on the King RD, who's going to draw first blood? It's going to be King RD himself as he kills off the Slark. LMAO is also going to lose his life in return, but Pain, after getting first blood and now a secondary kill, are off to a pretty quick start.
Man, Chilling Touch level 1. So many people decide to mess with Chilling Touch level 1, and they should just not do that. It's going to pretty much instantly win you fights. Even at like 4v5 scenarios, the power of level 1 Chilling Touch is just so ridiculous. So it is 2 kills for Pain. They also draw first blood on their Lion. Yeah, he does go down afterwards, but suddenly the Lion also has boots, and that's, I don't believe, part of his initial loadout. So this guy's going to be pretty happy. Being able to close in for a spike and then a hex a little bit faster is invaluable, especially if he's not going to get that much money in lane.
Tavo up towards top, going to get pounced down by the Slark. Even without that much damage, they're going to force the Batrider back, and with only 2 tangos left, he's going to be pat out of regen.
And Batrider is actually holding onto a magic stick, which is not exactly the build that I would expect. I mean, the Swag side, they'll cast their spells when they need to, and it is a lifesaver, but is it worth your initial 200 gold? Not really sure if it is up against these heroes. For the Slark, it is completely worth it. Magic Stick is amazing on him, and they're actually going to prep for a glimpse back into a Pounce. Tavo is going to get the Firefly off, but Pounce is there. Tavo's going to take a hell of a lot of damage. This might be a kill, and it looks like it will. That Magic Stick didn't do enough. Disruptor is going to draw that kill. Nice aggressive play from the Disruptor, and Batrider, sure, once he realized what was going on, it was just way too late.
Yeah, Pounce level 1 is so incredible at keeping people in place. The offlane for Swag isn't going to die, but at the same time, Ned can't really get much more than level 2 out of it. He's going to go back into the jungle and farm up, but I don't think this really stops Swag by any means. His Blink Dagger timing is probably going to be even a little bit faster than if he was able to farm in the lane.
Of course, this is going to leave ADR down towards the bottom lane just to have a 1v0, 2v0 lane. And Juggernaut, if you do leave him alone, is first of all going to be a very potent late game threat, but also can take your towers pretty convincingly if he decides to make that play. Just grab 1 or 2 points in healing ward and then bulldoze the tower with creeps getting ridiculous amounts of regen. So ADR is left to his own devices. This of course means that the supports from Pain are freed up to do whatever they want. Looks like for now they're going to settle on just a little bit of pulling, stacking, stuff like that. But if they do decide to leave and goes towards, say, the mid lane, there's not much Zeus can do once a Lion and an Ancient Apparition are barreling down on him.
Yeah, and I would like to see Pain make that rotation. With the smoke already on the line and with boots up on him as well, it should be pretty easy to put together once they get level 2, I think, is when they'll pull that trigger, and Lion's very close to that.
Yeah, they also have a Razor in that lane, so that's a hero that can contribute quite a bit. Going for the max, or going for a prioritized Plasma Field build for the moment, but hell, even if that's the only skill that lands, it's doing a lot of damage. That hits Soothes for maximum right there, and though he's going to bottle it straight away, Zeus is going to have to deal with a lot of lightning being returned his way, something that Zeus's ordinarily don't have to worry about too much. So Razor is, he's going to have a pretty decent hold on this lane, and I don't expect Swag's heroes to really go in mid and help out.
Yeah. For the time being, Dazzle's going to assist Ned as he jungles, offering some healing support there, and cleans up that stack pretty quickly. The Axe is farming at a pretty breakneck pace, but inside mid lane, King RD has made his rotation there, but won't be able to find an angle onto the Zeus. Although Zeus is completely out of mana, if he steps up too far, he could end up dying, but it looks like the Zeus, at least for the time being, is going to be safe.
Yeah, these supports for Pain are probably going to have their hands full just managing their jungle. Ancient Apparition is, as support heroes go, a support hero who's very, very happy just to sit in the jungle and stack up. Maybe not as happy as, say, a Sand King or something like that, but clearing up or stacking up camps for the Batrider is going to be huge. Even if he gets a little bit of gold, then he's going to put that towards the Hanamitis for an Aghanim Scepter or just a straight up Aghanim Scepter. And the levels for the Ancient Apparition are going to be huge as well, getting to a faster level 6. So if Baga has what he wants, and that is just going to be a free jungle, then, well, everyone on Pain is going to be pretty happy, since they're farming on all the heroes pretty effectively. Granted, Swagger doing the same thing, but really the mid lane is the lane that has some sort of contention.
Yeah, HFN breaking ahead over the Zeus. He's going to start a link and steal about 20 damage or so away from him, but no real killing potential. But still, Zeus is going to be zoned out as HFN continues to farm away. Down towards bottom, ADR is going to cut the creep wave and now go strong into Ned. Although the Axe does have some support coming in from the sidelines, so does the Juggernaut, with the line in Ancient Apparition potentially looking for a wraparound. At least for the time being, nobody's going to end up dying. The Dazzle shows himself to the line, call back on the Juggernaut's going to pull him a little bit further behind the tier 1, but the tower falls down just the same. No deny attempt coming out from the Axe, and Lion can't get in range for any disables, so just like that, tier 1 tower is down, and ADR gets the last hit.
It's the worst possible position to fight as an Axe. Getting a call on one hero usually isn't really going to do that much, since you need to get the call in the middle of the creep wave, and that just isn't going to happen when the Juggernaut is playing so aggressively. Ned does have now a free lane to farm. It's unlikely that Pain are going to be pushing a tier 2 tower super aggressively, but with the Juggernaut getting the Mask of Madness and with him closing on his level 6, once he does get those levels up, then the Axe isn't really going to be able to comfortably farm the bottom lane. Hell, no one on Swag will be able to do that. A quick Omni Slash with Mask of Madness to follow up with a chase down, and there's no way that you could sit in the bottom lane and be safe. So ADR, by himself now, 100% by himself, is going to have a firm control of this over this lane unless Swag bring in at least 2 heroes.
Yeah, at the very least, I'd say that they probably need 3, or at the very least, they'll need Zeus to have his ultimate up and at the ready, just for that little bit of damage to push them over the threshold. That ultimate is up on line for the Zeus, but up until this point, Zeus really hasn't been able to do much. He's going to pump fake his ultimate, but if he'd actually cast that, it would have been a Batrider kill. Maybe he should have actually pulled the trigger, but he has no idea.
Well, it's not too late to randomly cast your ultimate. Tavo does know that the Zeus has his ultimate, but now's the point where you're like, hey, there's no way that the enemy Zeus is going to be casting his ultimate, right? If anyone on Pain drops low, however, that might also end up killing Batrider, which is hilarious to me, but not hilarious to Tavo.
At least for the time being, Tavo is going to survive, and lucky enough, too, for him, he's going to have enough gold for his Blink Dagger up at less than 7 minutes, and Zeus going to need a full Plasma field, and that's going to be enough to drop him down to about half HP with just 1 spell cast. Let's see where this first Batrider gank ends up going. Tavo, at least for now, is above the kill threshold of the Zeus ultimate, and ready to go for a kill. He has a smoke purchased by the Lion.
Well, Klotz dropping very low just to neutrals. That should not be happening, but he has Shadow Dance, he'll be fine. Most of the time, this first Batrider gank with the Blink Dagger is going to go towards the mid lane, as it's the easiest hero to kill, and it's the most valuable, and I think this time is going to be no difference. He's already smoked up, he's fire flown, he's going to find Zeus, grab him with the net. Plasma Field won't outright kill him, but one more whip will, and Zeus is going to die. Tavo's first Blink Dagger usage, a massive success, and compare that to Ned, who's still 800 gold away from his, and Pain, they're in control of this game a little bit more than Swag right now. It can change in the future, but it will change probably once this Axe grabs his Blink, or when Slark grabs an item that's useful, but it seems like he's just going to go for a slower battling build with Aquila.
Yeah, PTs and Aquila is pretty nice to have on Klotz, but it's not going to set up kills like a Blink Dagger or Shadow Blade would. Axe is farming up down towards bottom lane, but if the creeps end up dying, he could be in some trouble from Omni Slash, but for the time being, he's safe. Mid lane, Zeus is going to get a lot of damage stolen away from him by the Razor, but again, no killing potential, although there is some potential for either side to look for an aggressive movement. It's pretty much all down to the Batrider and Axe. However, the Disruptor has walked way too close to that Invis rune. He'll end up dropping down just to the AoE damage coming up from HFN and a couple of right clicks.
And the Ancient Apparition is level 5 at this point, and that kill just helping him get a little bit closer to that Ice Ball. Then it's going to make it very easy for the Juggernaut to get solo kills on the bottom lane, but the Razor is actually going to go for a walkabout in the enemy jungle, get an eye on the stack situation. Unfortunately for him, there's no one who's super weak, and he will just decide to leave that lane, but you know, they have a Razor who's free farming the mid lane, they have a Juggernaut who's free farming the bottom lane, and even top lane, Baga's able to leech a little bit of experience there. So for Pain, they're pretty much getting everything that they could possibly want. Even the Lion's, you know, stacking a little bit in the jungle, and King RD is so very close to a Blink Dagger of his own. That's terrifying if you're Swag.
Yeah, it really is. A Blink Hex initiation at any point in the game, especially this early on, is ridiculous. But speaking of Blink initiations, we do now have that Blink Dagger up for Ned. So now it's Swag's turn to take some of this control that Pain established away from them.
Unfortunately, ADR coming in a little bit too late to crash that party. Would have gotten probably 2 easy kills on both the Axe and Dazzle, would have slowed down the Blink, but so it goes sometimes. The Axe, he's going to have a chance to get a little bit of blood on his hands. Odds are it's going to be towards ADR, but the Juggernaut has so much movement speed, if you don't kill him within the duration of that Blink call, then you're probably just not going to kill him. And the call is only level 1, so ADR, unless the Axe gets super lucky, is probably going to survive any sort of Blink initiation.
Yeah, some other heroes might not be so lucky, however, they do have a lot of damage coming out from the Zeus, and it looks like a similar gank is going to happen that we saw from the Batrider, but this time it's going to be turned onto HFN. Blinking Call with a full creep wave, a couple of spins, and now with the Thunderbolt and the ultimate, HFN is going to be dropped down into Cole range. Oh no, he's going to stick up and survive just barely, however. He's going to turn into the Zeus, gets that one kill, but looks like Ned's going to be able to kill him off, or is he? The right-click damage from Razor's huge! Mega kill and double kill for Razor, and now also VSW dropped low, but he's not going to end up falling. Eventually they kill that Razor, but at a hefty cost.
Man, Razor, if he also killed off the Disruptor, that would just be salt in the wounds, insult to injury. I don't even know what else to call it, but turning around for that 1v2 and coming out ahead because of just the power of Razor is going to be pretty substantial. At the exact same time, Pain did go ahead and go down towards the bottom lane where they lassoed up the Batrider, or the Dazzle rather. We're able to bring him down fairly easily there. So it's 3 kills overall for Pain, and the Razor just man-fighting like an absolute champ. He has gone for 2 points in the Unstable Current. I want to say that probably helped save his life and helped him turn that around, but the Razor's not really a hero that we often see anymore, so maybe Swag, getting a little bit of a misread on his damage output. They're going to jump in towards the bottom lane. Ned, though, going to get Omni Slash after a spike onto 2. Ned going to try to book it out, but you can't really run away from a Juggernaut this fast. Static Storm will go up, will miss, however, even bring ADR a little bit further out. He will spin TP. Axe going to come in with just enough damage. They will get that kill, and Axe will also survive. Ancient Apparition has no Ice Ball at the moment, but he'll go for it. Will it actually connect? Ned's not anywhere near it, so it's just an easy kill on the Juggernaut.
Yeah, and really a close call for both sides, but Swag are the ones to come out ahead in a pretty important way too. But then again, HFN's been left to his own devices inside the mid lane, and the Ancient Apparition has managed to find himself almost level 8 and almost enough gold for his hand to Midas, which it looks like he's going to be saving up for. Speaking of Midases, VSW has actually picked up one on the Disruptor after killing off the Razor. I think it's a reasonable choice, getting towards the Ags even faster.
Yeah, his kill score rather is pretty good, so if you're accelerated this much as a support, then getting a hand of Midas is, it's not too late for a Midas. It's just 12 minutes in the game, though it kind of does feel like a little bit longer than that based off of the aggression that we're seeing based off of the turnarounds. A Midas this early is going to give the Disruptor some serious benefits, even though he's inherently not a hero that is going to make use of a ton of extra gold. Having that Aghanims, having a Force Staff or a Blink Dagger or anything like that can make the difference for Swag, and VSW is going to have, guaranteed contributions to this game and guaranteed farm. Alamau, though, is going to get jumped by something. He's going to preemptively grave himself. Has backup here in the form of Disruptor. 2-man spike through. King RD is going to do a lot of damage towards this Dazzle. Here comes the Ice Blast. Will kill off the Dazzle instantly. VSW caught in the corner. Will also die. Not before dropping his Static Storm, though. HFN is hacking a Haste Rune, though, and he's going to mess with Clots a little bit, but ultimately it is a 2 for 2, as Ancient Apparition also dies up on top.
Yeah, both of the supports pairs, or both support pairs rather, are going to end up taking Spill, and that's, I don't know, pretty even towards either side. Not sure who that exactly favors. Juggernaut going to take a little bit of damage down towards bottom, but he's almost taking out a tier 2 tower, and since he survives, that's completely fine. ADR, for the most part, has been left alone. If it weren't for that one death, he could be completely snowballing out of control and being on a similar path as the Razor. At this point, after going for very much a mid-game fighting build on HFN, he's almost halfway towards an Aghanim Scepter, BKB, or whatever the item he'd like to pick up is.
And that's pretty scary. Swag are going to need a little bit more damage in order to deal with that Razor, and you really don't want to try to focus the Razor the entire time, because first of all, there's going to be a Juggernaut killing you all the while, and well, Razor might just not die if you do invest all of that damage output. So it's not a commitment that they really want to make, but it might be a commitment that they're going to be forced to make a little bit later. They're going to jump in, though. HFN not starting things off at a high amount of HP is going to lose his head. TP coming in from the Juggernaut, has an Omni Slash, wants to use it. He will settle for Soothes. That's going to instantly kill off the Zeus. Now looking for that Axe, however, there is a Dazzle here. He will spin to dodge that Glimpse, but that was probably a bad decision because now he's going to get caught in the call. Ned is going to decapitate that Juggernaut, making it a 2 for 2 overall. This time it's the cores to die. What is going on? Slark is also going to die at the top lane. Looks like that was just a lasso into an ice ball.
Yeah. This fight, however, is going to heavily favor his Swag, as the heroes that they were killing were sitting on a lot of net worth and experience, and especially the Axe is going to come ahead with sitting on his level 11 now here, 14 minutes in. After ending both of his sprees, he pretty much got a full level out of that exchange, which is amazing for him. He's going to be sitting on enough gold to pick up what looks to be a Vanguard into Crimson Guard, and at this point, that's really scary. I don't know, both of these teams are fighting on fairly even footing, although Pain are slightly ahead in this game. Swag still showed that they can fight even with this net worth and experience disadvantage.
Yeah, that fight did hinge upon the fact that Razor didn't start things off at full HP, was sitting in a full creep wave, and got called in said creep wave. And really, any hero in that condition is going to be dying. Axe just does too much guaranteed damage at that point, and there's not really much you could do about it. If Razor had both his point booster and his Ogre Club towards that Aghanim Scepter, he probably would have survived, might have gotten a kill or something in response, but Swag, they get the initiation off, and that's really where it's going to count. Their Axe has to start these fights, because no one else is going to, and if Axe isn't going to do it, then it's going to be the Bat Rider, and then suddenly Pain have complete control about how that fight is going to progress.
Well, for the time being, looks like we're going to have a restart of Steam, at least for the Dazzle, as there are some ping issues. I'm not sure how many people this is affecting. I'll go ahead and take a look at that now. Looks like... oh, not too many. Looks like for the most part we're looking okay, except for me and you.
Well, I mean, we're the only ones not in the region, I would assume. So, yeah. Valve dropping the ball in Brazil again. What a surprise. Raise your hand if you're surprised. Well, at least now, we are 14 minutes in the game, we actually can look at stuff. Let's see what the items are going to be. Baga, as you said, is going to be going for that Midas, and he's just 10 gold away from it. Last hit right next to him, so he will grab that one late compared to Disruptors, but I would say Ancient Apparition with Aghanims probably a lot scarier than Disruptor with his own Aghanims, or let's say Ancient Apparition with gold, scarier than Disruptor with gold. So, though it is 2 minutes later on that Midas, Ancient Apparition, that's the item that you want every single time.
Yeah, and I think another comparison to make is just the scaling with levels. Ancient Apparition, getting level 16 is actually a pretty big deal, but for Disruptor, is ultimate, although the damage is kind of nice to get, the duration doesn't actually change that much, and in fact, it doesn't change at all. I think that Ancient Apparition is probably going to be a little bit happier with the state of things, but at least as far as comparing supports are concerned, they're pretty even. What's not even, however, for both of these sides is that Pain are running with a line that has a Blink Dagger completed, and the Dazzle really can't replicate that. He's going to be working towards a Medallion, which is nice and all, but it pales in comparison to a Blink Hex into Earthspike with the Finger of Death. That's incredibly scary.
Dazzle has to be reactive pretty much every single time, whereas the Lion we've already seen can be a very proactive hero. He can go wherever he wants. He could start kills, and if he has a Finger of Death at the ready, currently he does not, then he could very easily get solo kills. I'm looking at Disruptor, Slark, Disruptor, Zeus, Dazzle, maybe Slark if he has someone with him, or if there's an Ice Blast or something like that coming in. Lion is packing a cannon, and Swag, they're not exactly tanky enough to prepare themselves for it, so what they have to do is keep their vision up, and you don't really want to be keeping up vision just to hold back a Lion. It will also hold back the Bat Rider, but the initiation of Pain is really high right now, and Swag, if the Axe isn't there to counter-initiate, or if they're not there with Static Storm or something like that, then well, they're just going to start bleeding heroes.
Yeah, even though it's not the biggest of issues, they do have one of their wards dewarded out by the Lion, and at the moment, their ward vision isn't the greatest. They have a decent amount inside mid and top, but really this Lion could be coming from anywhere.
Well, they see him right now. Observer wards in the mid lane will spot the movement of King RD. They do not know where the Bat Rider is. Bat Rider's actually in base, so even if they see him somewhere at one point, he could very quickly jump to another area with those travels, and the travels came up at a very fast time. The Blink Dagger was, to start things off, very fast on Tavo, and slowing down for the travels isn't really going to affect his build all that much, since his Force Staff is going to be coming up at, again, a reasonable time. So this Bat Rider is getting all the items that he could want. Really, these three are the only ones that you really want as Bat Rider. Anything else is just bonus.
Pure luxury. This game, a BKB would be really nice for him, and eventually something like a Scythe Refresher, but yeah, Bat Rider is completely online, and there really isn't much else to ask for. The Slark's going to settle on an SNY for his build, but the Slark really hasn't done much with the space that he's been getting. Although SNY is a great item, if they're going to go for it, I think that Swag need to start activating their Slark a little bit more.
It just feels like Pain have been using their Juggernaut a lot more than Swag have been using their Slark. This is the type of build that is going to encourage you to go out and fight things and, you know, take fights and stuff like that. So Slark might have a chance to go ahead and get some action, but he's still facing up against that Ice Blast. And if he gets initiated upon, which he has been for his 2 deaths, then it's just not good times for him. In fact, the Batrider is positioned up on the top lane to go for this kill. Ancient Apparition has an Ice Ball at the ready. They're going to decide against it, but Klotz, he's still just farming. Juggernaut is probably going to be farming a little faster with the Mask of Madness, Yasha movement speed.
Up until this point, that wasn't the case, but I think Juggernaut should start pulling ahead. That one death down towards bottom did slow him down a fair bit, but I think he's also going to be more comfortable taking this to the later portion, since Pain do have so many ways to get the jump onto the Slark and kill him off before he's really going to be effective. Whereas ADR, although a Static Storm can be completely disastrous for him, as could an Axe Initiation, he's going to be hitting just that much harder, with Omni Slash as well as having that built-in crit.
Yeah, so do you think Pain are just going to just stall this game out and just wait? I mean, they have a Batrider with a lasso, and that's not really intuitive. Just say, okay, we have a lasso, let's do nothing with it. But I do think that their late game is probably stronger. Swag's late game is, to say the least, pretty inconsistent with the fragility of their heroes.
Yeah, it is very unfortunate. I think that they should be a little bit more active down towards bottom. Juggernaut definitely is. He's down under the tier 3 tower. Although he's not really doing much immediately. Now that they bring in the Batrider in line, maybe they can kill off the Slark. No, Klotz is gonna pounce and pact away. For the time being, he's safe.
But only for the time being. If you can't even farm safely under the shadow of your tier 3, then where the hell can you farm? Up towards top, Ned and VSW, they're going to get hit with a spike, or at least Ned will. TP coming in from Juggernaut's going to jump right into his Static Storm, but he will spin right on out of there. They'll lasso up Ned, and he's going to be left for dead by VSW, who is going to straight TP out of here. He will make it home, albeit barely. Ned has nowhere to run. He will die to ADR's swipe of the sword, and well, with that one kill, not exactly the 2 that they wanted, but you know, you can't always get what you want. They will most definitely take this tier 1 tower following him. Swag, they're going to try to trade, but I don't think they have enough pushing power to trade convincingly with Pain right now.
Yeah, even without having the ultimate up, HFN is sitting on an Aghanim Scepter, and at this moment, Pain's tower damage potential is so much greater than Swag's. Slark can do a decent amount, but decent doesn't seem to be cutting it. They could probably trade for tier 2s if Swag aren't in position to actually defend, but maybe they look for some kills themselves. Blink in mid, the Lion's looking for a Hex onto the Dazzle, he'll find it, follow up with the Earth Spike, and now with the Lion with the Aghanim Scepter, they're going to start pursuing. Although Lion's dropped incredibly low, he's going to end up dying to the Zeus's ultimate, and with the TP away, LMAO is also going to survive. What should have been a pretty easy pickoff for Pain is going to be thwarted by Shallow Grave.
Definitely a bold move there from that Lion, deciding to go in a situation where he doesn't have any backup into a 1v2 initially. That in and of itself is very dangerous, and though he did get a pretty nice spike and pretty nice Hex, he got all his skills out correctly. The Zeus was free to just Thunder God's Wrath him down, and there's not much you could do at that point. So they give the Lion away. They ultimately do make a 1-for-1 tower trade, as the Slark on bottom lane was just left alone, and he was able to take that out. Now does have a Shadow Blade, so Klotz is going to be, now at this point, pretty much always on the roam and looking for blood. And if he doesn't, if he's not, then, well, you're playing the Slark item build wrong. He is right now positioned in a pretty good spot because he's going to run into either Baga or King RD, both of whom are very easily killed off.
Well, let's see where he's going to jump, or if he's going to jump. He's going to open up onto King RD, perching off the stun. He'll be able to cleave him down in just a matter of seconds with that pack damage, as well as just with 1 or 2 right clicks. Very easy pickings for the Slark. As scary as Lion is, he is very squishy.
He needs to get that Blink Dagger off, but you can't out-blink a Slark unless you have sentries on the floor, and even then, it's not going to be really safe. Klotz over towards mid is going to get pulled back, has Shadow Dance though, and he will immediately use that. No Ice Ball coming in just yet, and well, they'll get a little bit of damage on the Razor, a little bit less damage on the Slark. He's going to chase down the Dazzle, has a Grave TP, and yet again, this is going to succeed. Pain with no stuns, no relevant skills in the area, and that's like the 2nd or 3rd time Swag have just straight TP'd out of the face of Pain.
Yeah, and really there's not going to be a time where they're going to change that in their item build. Scythe on Razor, although I don't think it's a bad idea, Scythe is never really bad. I doubt we're going to be seeing it this game more than most, and Yule's also not really a possibility. Although HFN might be completely fed up with it and eventually selling those items, it looks like a BKB for now. Zeus Ultimate, purely for scouting purposes, is going to be dropped. It's going to catch eyes on the two supports up towards top with the Batrider, as well as the rest of the team farming up, but other than that, doesn't really seem like it's done much.
Yeah, I don't really think we're going to see that sheep stick either. It's pretty sick on Razor, actually. Just sheep them, you start draining, and then you just kill them. But, I mean, they have the Batrider with the Flame Break, with the Lasso. They have the Lion. They have Omni Slash if they really need it. CC isn't going to be a huge issue for Pain, or at least it shouldn't. We might see, like, a MKB Basher or something like that on Juggernaut later on, but that'll be much later on. Both teams seemingly looking towards Roshan, or thinking about it right now. The eyes are up for the Dire side, so they'll know if Pain make any sort of, wraparound play. But as far as Roshaning is concerned, well, Pain have the Ancient Apparition and the Batrider and the Juggernaut, but Swag have an Axe, and that's pretty dangerous if you're Pain. You don't want to be jumping or get jumped into the Roshan pit up against an enemy Axe.
Pretty interesting to see. The Dire have actually blocked out their own Ancients. The Juggernaut has been farming them quite a bit. But do you think it's worth committing a Sentry in order to stop that? Especially since they're more than capable of taking them out themselves, as they've just shown.
I want to say that's just a mistake, but at the same time, I don't know how you make that type of mistake. Like, that's the source of income for Axe very easily. For the Slark, you could also clear them off decently. And you generally don't want to be blocking your cams ever. I don't think there are many tactical reasons to do that. Right now, the Sentry not really doing too much. Observer not going to spot the movement of Pain into the Roshan pit. King RD, though, he's going to try to take on Roshan 1v1. Going to get dropped very low. Another bash? That would be hilarious. Kind of sad, but also hilarious.
King RD, at least for the time being, is going to survive, although only just. If Zeus ultis now, King RD would be dead. But now the Tranquil Boot regen is kicked in, it looks like he's going to survive. Although that is a really close call. Unfortunate, at least for me, that the Dire didn't have vision around there. That would be hilarious. If Roshan gets like a double bash onto him and then he just dies.
The saddest. You can't really prepare for that if you're anyone. It's like suddenly Roshan damage, and you're just completely screwed. Both sides just battling over vision in the Rosh pit, and I want to say that ADR is powerful enough to, for the most part, solo it. Although he only does have 1 point in Blade Dance, so his damage output isn't going to be as high as it could be at this stage in the game. Pain are probably going to be a little bit more willing to actually go for this because they will have a Batrider in the area with a gem, so they'll have full vision and full true sight vision at that.
Yeah, and that is very scary. Then again, Swag also have a Zeus on their side, so they are not without their ability to deward the enemy vision. It's really just an awkward dance around this Roshan pit area with Slark farming top and Juggernaut farming bottom. Really, those are the only heroes that aren't involved.
Well, Juggernaut actually has 4,000 straight up gold in his bank account. Last item was the Sanjin Yasha and was picked up quite a long time ago. Do you think you get a BKB in this game as Juggernaut? Do you need more damage? Maybe he just goes for a Scotty build? What do you think?
I would say that like a Basher would be pretty good for ADR, just a little bit more damage and some CC that's hard and really difficult to deal with for Swag. I wouldn't be opposed to a BKB by any means, but really as long as it's a big ticket item, I think ADR could get away with it.
Well, I think he should get anything. Sitting on 4,000 gold is way too much for 24 minutes in. That's net worth that is actually doing nothing for him. He has enough for 2 buybacks, maybe even 3 at this point. Yeah, he has a lot of buyback money, but yeah, I don't really understand why teams hold up this much gold for this long, but they will just go straight for the Rosh. And ADR, he is definitely capable of soloing it, and Swag, they are in the dark completely. That Batrider took a path around this Rosh pit, cleared it out of most of the vision, or at least the relevant vision, and then just a quick, easy double life for the Juggernaut.
It's going to be a Scotty for the Jug, and he'll have that gold very shortly, so completed Scotty is very close. The Scotty for the Slark will take a little bit longer, but Bots is keeping up with this Juggernaut when it comes to the items, and that's pretty impressive, especially considering he hasn't gotten pickoffs with the Shadowblade SNY build. This has mostly just been the Klutz farming.
And that's definitely less than ideal. If you want to be playing this style of Slark, you pretty much skip the Shadowblade. I think Sanjin Yasha is still an okay item to get just for value, but the Shadowblade is kind of just a giant item that's not really helping him. Got him 1 kill on the Lion, but that's not enough to justify the price tag. So the Scotty's going to come up on Slark. He will eventually want to sell off that Shadow Blade. He is going to be 6 slotted a little bit later because he decided to go for this build, which isn't really working out for him right now. But if this game does drag on, and it looks like we're well on our way to having a long, drawn-out game, then maybe the Slark is going to get enough farm, enough kills just to, you know, get his item build the way he wants it in the late game.
Actually, it's not going to be a Scotty after all for the Slark. He's going to settle on a Lincoln Sphere. At this point, I think that Slark is battle ready and that they should look to fight. This takes away a lot of Pain's ways to actually lock down the Slark, although Batrider could, in theory, break the Lincolns with a Force Staff before lassoing. That also takes away some of the power of the initiation, and although Lion could, in theory, break the Lincoln Sphere, all of the spells that both of these heroes bring to the table are useful in other contexts, so I think it's a reasonable pickup.
Yeah, the dream, of course, for Pain is that they somehow blink in with their Lion, get the mana drain on Clots. That's probably, or Cold Feet, the two skills that they'll be most willing to use to break this Lincoln Sphere. But if they just run up this lasso up against the Sphere, which is, of course, the best way for Swag to get value off of this Sphere, which might happen, it's not too uncommon, then Clots is going to be feeling pretty good. Batrider will be forced to just book it at that point, and without their Batrider to initiate, Pain will be at a pretty large disadvantage compared to Swag.
Yeah, even though there have been quite a few kills inside this game, they're not really involving the heroes that I thought that would be active from both sides, really. Axe only involved in 5 kills, the Slark also only involved in 3. Swag's lineup has a lot of potential for aggression that I think they've missed.
Well, it's still not too late to step up for a little bit of pressure. It is still only 26 minutes in the game right now, but the aggression that they could put onto the likes of a hard carry like Juggernaut is going to be a lot harder now that he has a complete Eye of Scotty. 2400 HP on any hero with 21 armor. That's definitely a hard nut to crack, and Swag will have to work their best to try to kill off this Juggernaut, but then they have to kill him off twice. ADR still holding on to that Aegis, and looks like Pain, they're not really going to make any huge attempts at using this Aegis. If they get value, they get value. Otherwise, it's just going to be slow down the game. ADR just going to spin for... I think he maybe thought Thunderstrike was on him, but he's going to spin, find Ned in the corner, blink forward, Force Spike, which will connect. Omni Slash available, but you don't really want Omni Slash around the corner like that. King RD is going to get glimpsed right back into a field. They also get the call onto ADR. He might get the Aegis value after all. Ice Blast is coming in, will connect onto Clots. Omni Slash is there, going to unleash onto Ned. However, the Grave is going to keep him alive. ADR is still alive right now. He's going to get healed up by his ward, and he's still running around. In the meantime, HFN, man fighting versus Clots. Finger of Death is there, which will mean that the Razor comes out on top. Now they're going to charge forward for more. Suit's going to save himself for a little bit of time with that Eul Scepter. He's going to fall right into a Hornet's Nest. He'll die. The Disruptor will die as well. The Dazzle was able to TP out of there, but Pain used the Aegis, and they get so many kills. Oh, so many kills. And to top it all off, they're right next to a tier 2 tower, and they still have a lot of Eye of the Storm duration left. They can go for a tier 3.
They didn't actually use the Aegis. ADR still holds onto that item. Wow. What it did cost them was a buyback on the Lion, which is unfortunate for King RD, but who needs Aegis when you have Healing Ward? That value coming out from ADR was ridiculous.
He was able to book it out of there at max movement speeds. I don't know how much healing the Healing Ward got. I wish there was a number that I could see, but I want to say it was in the thousands. It was on several heroes at one point, and man, whenever you can get that up for even just 1 or 2 seconds, you're most likely just going to be winning that fight. The amount of healing there is insane, and well, they keep everyone alive just by the skin of their teeth. It was very close for many heroes, but that's exactly how you should be approaching these fights, and all of a sudden, what was a completely stalemated fight, a game where Pain were more than happy to slow it down and take it to the super late game stages, now 2 Raxes ahead for Pain, and that's it. Klotz is going to call it.
Yeah, and fair enough too. Pain, their pushing power was just too much for them to actually combat. The Razor and Juggernaut sitting on way too much for them to fight, and all it took was one botched initiation where they didn't have buyback, and well, just like that, we're off to game number 2. Pain looking really solid.
Alright guys, this is a best of 3, so Swag have one more chance to bring it back before they are going to be dropped to the lower bracket. I'm Mikelorus, I've been joined by GrandisV, and we'll be right back for game 2 of Pain Gaming versus Swag.